So there is a nonprofit research group called PRRI, and they just released the findings from this massive survey they do. It's called the Census of American Religion. And it kind of gives us a snapshot of what people believe and where they live all across the country, like at a county by county level. And like I said, that's unlike most of the surveys you see because this one gets really granular and it tells you about like religious diversity and all things like that. PRRI says their report offers the quote most comprehensive resource available on religious diversity in America. So, what are the big takeaways? I want to show you this chart first because this is fascinating to me. Look at this one right here. You can see at the top, this is the American religious landscape in 2023. And there are some fascinating things going on here. Look at that pinkish on the upper left, like 10 o'clock at night. 27% of people, I have to remove myself here, 27% of people are unaffiliated. 27%, a quarter of the country, they say, has no religious affiliation. And check this out. If you look at like, I'm going to try to do this with my fingers here, like the 1 o'clock, the dark blue, and the next light blue after that, those are white evangelical Protestants, white mainline Protestants, and then white Catholics right underneath that. But according to this pie chart, the percentage of nuns, 27%, is larger than the percentage of white evangelicals and white mainline Protestants. They're only at 26% total. Nuns now outnumber white Protestants in this country. That is huge. That's never happened before. And it wasn't like that, like with the last time they did this survey years ago. So we are gaining primarily at their expense. Those former white evangelicals, white Protestants, they're coming to the side of, I want nothing to do with organized religion. So that's pretty damn amazing. In 2020, by the way, the percentage of white Protestants who are evangelical and mainline were 23% and 30%. So, like, not only are they shrinking, we're getting all their numbers. All right. White Christians overall now stand at 41%, which is actually a drop from 44% a few years ago. Let me show you a different version of the same information that is in this chart right here. This is the decline of white Christian subgroups. So again, same kind of chart. I'll remove myself from here. That pink line at the very top right, you could see those are the nuns. There are more of us today than ever before. The unaffiliated group, we are now at 27.4%, where you could see white evangelicals, white mainline Protestants, white Catholics, their numbers keep going down and down and down overall, to the point where even if you start adding them up, we are outnumbering them. That is incredible. We just keep gaining at their expense. That's seriously, you should rewind this video and just stare at that chart. I will point out one thing going back to that for a second. You could see there's a little jump at the bottom right, like 16.4. What is that? In 2020, during the pandemic, yeah, some people found religion suddenly. But ever since then, it's been back to the trend of people leaving organized religion once again. And I know this is obvious to most of you, but when it says unaffiliated, that means atheists, agnostics, nothing in particular. The same survey said 5% of America, they're atheists, 5% are agnostics, 17% are nothing in particular. Now, another thing I would say about those numbers is that everything is self-reported in this survey. People told the researchers they were evangelical or Muslim or unaffiliated. And I would suspect then that the non-religious numbers are actually underreported because a lot of Americans still feel a stigma when it comes to admitting they have no religious faith. So I think there's a lot of people, if you ask them, what religion are you? Or like, what religious label do you use, if any? They would say, I'm Christian. What type? Just regular Christian. Like they don't want to say they doubt God. They think there's something wrong with that. So they don't say unaffiliated. They definitely don't say atheist. They might just say, well, whatever religion I was raised in, even if they have doubts. So that 27%, I think that's an undercount. So that's interesting. What else was in this survey? Check this out. Americans 30 to, this is by age. Same thing. Look at this. Of the unaffiliated, look at the difference between Americans in 2013 and in 2023. So we have a decade difference here. And across all ages, look at the difference between the blue lines from a decade ago to the green lines today. And what this shows you is in every age breakdown, more people have become religiously unaffiliated. And the biggest jump happened between the ages of 30 and 49. A decade ago, that group was only 23% non-religious. Now it's 34% non-religious. So doesn't matter your age. I'll let you see that again. It doesn't matter what age you are. Like, people are shifting away from organized religion across the board. Fascinating as well. PRRI does not get into the why is this happening, but I would argue that that 30 to 49 cohort, that's probably the group most impacted by Republicans taking away their reproductive rights. That's the group that has maybe suffered the greatest whiplash when it comes to seeing civil rights progress acquired and then rescinded because of right-wing judges. They are the people who came of age at a time when religion has only ever been a tool of oppression. 30 to 49, that's the age group that like bore witness to the Catholic Church sex scandals and all the reporting that came out about it. So like you can imagine, yeah, that group doesn't necessarily have a lifelong affinity to the Catholic Church. When they read about that stuff, they're like, why am I a part of this? I want out. When they see what George W. Bush did with his religion, and obviously what Trump did by using religion, they're like, I don't want to be a part of this. So I can try to theorize as to why they're leaving. Here's another thing to show you. I love charts, and this whole report was so interesting. I was in nerd heaven for this. This is interesting. Even though younger Americans are less religious than any other age group, this actually shows that they're more diverse than any other group. So we're going to look at the far left column here. But look at this. Look at how many different colors are represented in that age group. Like the bottom pink, it's bigger for the far left group, the 18 to 29 group, because there's more unaffiliateds in the younger generation. That's not surprising. But at the same time, there's a lot of Black Protestants, a lot of Hispanic Protestants, white Catholics. Like there's a bigger mix. Whereas compared to the column on the right, which is 65 or older, those non-traditional religions are like little slivers. The blues kind of take up the big chunk, whether it's white evangelicals, Protestants, Lutherans, white Catholics. They kind of dominate the 65 or older group. However, on the far left column, you see growth in the smaller religious groups, whereas those big popular Christian groups get smaller and smaller. So I find that diversity very interesting as well. One color doesn't really dominate that far left column. There are more Christians of every stripe, more religious people from non-traditional backgrounds. And I wonder if that will have massive political repercussions down the line, because we know the Republican Party in particular has a bad habit, or if you want to call it a strategy, of speaking to all Americans as if they are all Christians of the same stripe. That is the way they campaign, right? We're all conservative Christians who hate abortion and the gays. But as you could see, not every American is that kind of Christian. And certainly with younger Americans, they are not all that kind of Christian, which suggests those arguments are not going to have as much sway as they used to. So what do you think is going to happen? Are Republicans going to change strategy? Or are they just going to double down on the horrible things they do? Well, if history is any indication, they're always just going to double down. They don't change for the better. That's not what the Republicans do. On the flip side, what are Democrats looking like? This is interesting too. Look at this chart right here. This is religious affiliation by party and age. Look at the very bottom of this chart. This is the Republicans. And you could see, there's a big chunk of Republicans who are white evangelical Protestants. And at the far right, there's a very small chunk of Republicans who are religiously unaffiliated. Now go to the very top line, the one that's way up there. That's the Democrats. And you can see Democrats consist of a whole bunch of religiously unaffiliated people and a very small sliver of white evangelicals. But now look at those four middle rows right there, because now we're breaking it down by age. And you could see what's happening here. If you go to the second line from the bottom, 65 or older, that looks closer to Republicans than Democrats. But look at the age 18 to 29. That looks a lot more like Democrats than Republicans. And what does that teach us? That suggests the future of America looks a lot more like the Democratic Party. And that means Democrats are going to have, if they're smart anyway, they'll have an easier time speaking to that group of people. Whereas Republicans, by tailoring their message to a very small, shrinking group of Americans, are going to have a harder and harder time trying to connect with people. So that's a really interesting thing as well. As PRRI explained this, the religious makeup of Democrats generally resembles that of younger Americans ages 18 to 29. The Republican religious breakdown is more akin to the religious makeup of senior Americans over 65. And then they added, notably, no age group is as white and Christian as Republicans. So again, that strategy to cater to conservative Christians, that will work for now, but it's not going to last. And I think that's also a warning to Democrats. Like, stop pandering to Christians, much less one type of them. Democratic candidates should be pushing for religious freedom for everybody. They should be pushing for church-state separation rather than using Christianity as some sort of default option. And I think those results that are broken down by age, that should terrify pastors here, because the future does not look good for organized religion, especially white evangelicals, because younger Americans who have now grown up in a country surrounded by racist, misogynistic, anti-science, pro-MAGA, pro-cruelty Republicans, they are deciding they don't want anything to do with any religion that finds Trumpism acceptable. And more than a third of Americans under 50 are fed up with organized religion, and even more of them don't want to be part of any club that latches their faith onto Donald Trump. So what do you think is going to happen when those people get older? There's no reason to think they're going to find Jesus when they get older. They want nothing to do with organized religion. Here's another part of that survey, also fascinating. Where are the atheists? Where are the religiously unaffiliated? This is where they are across the country. The more blue the color is, the more they're in that area. So the more blue, you're getting closer to 62% of the area is religiously unaffiliated. And I know it's hard to see this when you go deeply in, but okay, let's go to Mississippi right over here. Yeah, look, there's lots of pockets of white. There's not a lot of blue. You go to Texas, you see a lot of those rural parts of Texas are extremely white, both on the chart and literally. And you're not going to find a ton of atheists. But again, because land doesn't matter as much as population distribution, when you see where the big cities are, especially in these red states, you can tell where the big cities are by where you're seeing some of those groups, those blue little areas, the blue islands in red states. I would also point out that let's look at Chicago, right by Lake Michigan over there. That doesn't look particularly blue. And it doesn't because, there's more diversity in big cities as well. So let me zoom out here again. There are a lot of religiously unaffiliated people, in the Northeast. That's not surprising. Yeah, in parts of Nevada and California and the Pacific Coast and places like that. In rural areas, some places, yeah, you might find some religiously unaffiliated people because the churches haven't infested those areas. However, we're all over the place. There's religiously unaffiliated people all across the country, so that's good to see. The last thing I want to point you to, similar map, but it's a different one. This is religious diversity. If it's a 0, if it's a white color on this map, that means everyone's the same religion. And if it's really dark blue, that means all these religions are equally spread out. And you can see, where do you see homogeneity? Like, where's the homogenous parts of the country? Again, you look to Mississippi, you look to the Bible Belt. That's relatively white because everyone's kind of the same religion, minus those pockets of diversity there. But even, for all the crap the coastal states get, like, oh, New York is, godless, California is godless. According to this chart, that's not what's going on at all. You'll actually find more religious diversity there because, again, if they were all godless in California, that state would be white on this map. It's not. You actually see more religious diversity in those coastal states, in the Northeast, in the West, more religious diversity there than you would in the Bible Belt, where you're not going to hear as many alternative points of view. So, again, another fascinating thing about this survey. In case you're wondering, just to rattle this off here, there were some counties, like with at least 10,000 people in them, with huge populations of non-religious people. Specifically, here's the list I want to show you. Let me share this with you here. These are where all the non-religious people are congregated. San Juan County, Washington, 62% non-religious. Gunnison County, Colorado, 61%. And you can see, look at the states represented: Montana, Nevada, New Mexico, Washington, Vermont. That's where the non-religious people are. Those are the most non-religious counties in the country by percentage. Why don't you see, like, San Francisco? You would think, oh, that's got to be godless, right? No, there are religious people there too. They just get that reputation or something. Also, what's really interesting? I want to show you those numbers again right here. When they did this survey, like in a few years ago, the most non-religious county in the country had 49% non-religious. So here, the top, what is that, 9 counties, they are all higher than the most non-religious county the last time they did this survey. So very interesting there. Which counties are the most religiously diverse? Montgomery County, Maryland. That gets the high score for religious diversity, whereas the very bottom of the list, the most one religion in our area, part of the country, all 3 of them are in Mississippi. Holmes County, Chickasaw County, and Simpson County in Mississippi are the least religiously diverse in the country. So, again, you could have predicted some of that information, but it's always helpful to have concrete numbers. It shows us our nation is becoming more religiously diverse and less religious overall. And we are at a time, you all know this, where white Christian nationalism threatens our lives, using Project 2025 as their playbook. But that's not because most Americans want that. It's because, the reason it's a threat is because more Americans are rejecting that way of life. And the white Christians who are so used to privilege and power are refusing to cede any of that ground. They don't want to give up any of that. So they're trying to use whatever power they have left to shove their religion on everyone else. And it is imperative that you're not voting for any of that stuff. I'll pause there for a bit, take any questions. Otherwise, I think I may be done today. Oh, thank you, Carla, for that donation. Just admire you so much. Want to say thank you from Missouri. Yes, and as you saw from those maps, there are many non-religious people in Missouri. Thank you. The theme of that chart should be, you won't believe it. I like that. That is clever. Thank you. It's amazing how many young people of all religious persuasions are leaving their parents' religion. Yeah, you know what? There is, I think it might be the Pew Research Center. When they do their big, massive once a decade surveys about religion, the thing I love looking at for the past couple times they've done it is they always do a religious switching section where they say, what religion were you as a child? What religion are you now? And what you find is exactly what you just pointed out. How many people have left the religion they grew up with? Like, people leave Catholicism. Like, for every one person who becomes a Catholic, I'm making this up, don't quote me on this. For like every one person who enters Catholicism, 7 leave it. And for the non-religious group, if you were raised non-religious, for every one person who finds Jesus, like another 7 people become non-religious. That religious switching where we take the people who are leaving organized religion and very few go out is always fascinating to see. And I always look forward to that sort of information. Now, that must terrify the evangelicals. No wonder they're trying to create a theocracy. No kidding. Again, they're very powerful right now. That's what Project 2025 is. No one wants what they are selling, and so they have no choice but to force it on us because they sure as hell are not persuading people. Seems like Republicans are currently targeting Generation Alpha with horrible right wing memes. Yeah, and guess what? It's not working. Their memes are bad. They don't have a sense of humor. Um, By the way, if you're looking for something to watch, Right Wing Watch mentioned this on Twitter the past couple of days. There is a anti-abortion activist by the name of Janet Porter, and several years ago she said, "I'm making a sitcom," and like she aired a preview of it. I think she already like filmed it, fundraised for it. She was looking to distribute it. And she just recently started releasing it on her YouTube channel, like previews of the episodes. Again, a right wing sitcom where some woman is trying to date again or something like that. It is the cringiest, most MAGA type of humor. I use that word loosely. You will ever see. And I've seen a couple of clips so far, and oh my God, it's the worst possible thing to watch. It's so bad. It's Janet Porter. The show is called What a Girl. It's not What a Girl Wants, something like that. But go look Right Wing Watch because they've posted about Janet Porter a couple times this week, and they will have links to her show, and it's horrible. Does non religious just mean not practicing, or does it mean I do not have religious belief? Again, it's usually self identified. So a lot of people say, you know what? I am not a practicing whatever, so I call myself non religious. I may not be an atheist. Maybe I believe there is a higher power of some kind, but it's not the sort you would find a church pastor defining it as. So it is a big umbrella when we talk about unaffiliated, the non religious. It's a little bit of everything. They're kind of wishy washy in a lot of ways. But it's a mix of all of that. It's people who don't practice, it's people who may not believe, have serious doubts about God, and they may say, you know what, I don't belong to any organized religion. There's a reason why Republican policies make it harder to vote, particularly for those who generally vote Democrat. Yeah. I mean, they're doing this across the board. Republicans are targeting the young, the non white, the poor. In Texas right now, they're going after like the most populated county in the state to make it harder for people to register to vote. Because when people vote, they lose. They know that. What I don't know is, do young people know that? Like how hard Republicans are trying to make sure you don't register to vote. You can't register to vote. And again, if you live in like a swing state, figure out how to vote. Go knock on doors for a campaign if you can. But please, I said this earlier, maybe online somewhere, but I've heard so many politicians say election day is November 5th. And no, that's not right. The election ends on November 5th. There are so many times you can vote before then, and you should. I'm going to vote by mail, and I'm going to do it early. I'm going to bank that in. And then you know what? If there's some screw up, I have time to fix it. But also, I've never had a screw up. It's pretty easy in Illinois. But also, if something happens on election day and you can't vote, or the weather is really bad or something where you live, you are going to be really happy that you voted early. So, like, seriously, go register to vote now if you haven't already, and then go sign up to vote by mail or go vote early. Do not wait until election day to vote. That is a dumb thing to do. Just get it out of your system. Go vote early. It's fine. It's fine. I've done it for the past several elections, and it's so damn easy. and I can track the fact that my ballot was received and checked and accepted and all that stuff, go do it. And yes, even if you don't live in a swing state, you should still do all that. How do you think the delay in Trump's sentencing will affect the outcome of the election? Yeah, his sentencing has been delayed till like weeks after the election. I don't know if it's going to affect that much because Trump's already been convicted of the crimes, right? Like a jury convicted him. He's been charged, convicted. All we're waiting for is the sentencing. He's a convicted felon. If that doesn't convince you not to vote for him, I don't think a potential jail sentence is going to change your mind at this point. So I don't think it's going to make a big deal. I really don't understand the people who are like iffy about Donald Trump right now, and a possible jail sentence is the only thing that could sway their minds at this point. You know what I mean? Like, how do you not have an opinion on the guy at this point? And also, I mean, who are these crazy people who are like, he's great? JD Vance is awesome. Like, what is wrong with those people too? So no, I don't think it's going to make a huge decision. It's frustrating because there's a special justice system in America just for Trump, and it's no justice system. Like he gets his own court process all the time. Everything always breaks his way, legally speaking, it seems. So it's frustrating, but I don't think it's going to change anything that's going to happen.